exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now, there's something you can do to
slow it down. Slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a walk-up with central air and a skylight, and you found it. Now, every Friday night, you get to fall asleep to the sound of your downstairs neighbors' dance parties. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data, available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase a single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And here we go on another day of Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. I'm Phil Bamrine. I'm in the control room, and I'm joined by our sports betting expert, Dylan Cohen, in the Harmon Solar Studios here in Scottsdale. On today's show, we'll talk about the picks and how they did yesterday, and we'll get into what the top two picks are for tonight. We'll also talk about Suns basketball, the state of affairs that currently is in. The Suns lost again last night to the Rockets, and the downward spiral continues. What do you want to see from your Phoenix Suns for the rest of the season? We'll talk about it. We've also got Senny Thomas joining the show in segment 2. He is the head of Edge Boost, and he'll explain why you need to be using Edge Boost with your sports betting. And of course, in segment 3, Dylan will break down the long shot parlay for tonight and let you know why you should tail it. But before we get things started, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Edge Boost. And as Phil just mentioned, make sure you stick around for segment 2, because today we have the head of Edge Boost, Senny Thomas. He's going to be joining the show. We're going to learn a lot more about Edge Boost. I do talk about it at the top of every single show. Edge Boost is the only bank account out there that is designed specifically for your sports betting, your daily fantasy site transactions. You can earn up to 0.5% cash back with every deposit that you make from your Edge Boost bank account to daily fantasy site or a sports book. And your Edge Boost bank account, it comes with a electronic Visa debit card. This is an FDIC insured bank account. It was created in partnership with Visa. And I say it all the time, if you are someone that, I mean, you don't even have to be someone that bets 3, 4, 5 figures at a time. If you're just someone that commonly places sports betting wagers, daily, this Edge Boost bank account, it doesn't even have a minimum required balance. So it really doesn't matter the level of, volume that you're betting. If you can ultimately earn cash back on all these transactions that you're doing anyway, you are literally leaving money on the table. So make sure you visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. And if you use promo code 1580, you will start off on a higher tier to earn even more cash back than you would if you did not use the promo code 1580 when you sign up. So Senny's going to tell us a lot more about Edge Boost. I'm really excited to have that conversation with him. And of course, here on Beat the Book, there is a Beat the Book website where if you check that out Monday through Friday, there are bets to make that are posted on that site. You're going to get 10 picks each day, Monday through Friday, as well as a long shot parlay. That long shot parlay, I'm going to break it down in the final segment of today's show, explain why I put it together the way I did, what's the rationale behind it, why can this thing actually win. So definitely stay tuned for that. And getting into the actual Beat the Book picks from yesterday, if you just search in your browser, Beat the Book Fanatic, Beat the Book Dylan Cohen, either one of those things, that'll take you right to where you need to get to see what these actual sports betting picks are. You can also visit 1580thefanatic.com, click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the site so you can get in on these picks. But going back to the picks from yesterday, we finally came back down to earth a little bit. We were having a really good streak of just getting over 50% on the picks each day. That finally came to an end. We went 3-7 overall, but the top 2 picks for the day, both of those finally did hit this week. So going back to yesterday's top 2 picks, we had the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons to each win their games on the spread. The Cavaliers crushed the Toronto Raptors last night on the road. They won by 23 points. The final score there was 131-108. And betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers to cover on the spread, going against just about any team in the NBA. Besides maybe a handful of some of the, cream of the crop, the Thunder, the Celtics, possibly the Knicks, the Grizzlies. If they're not going up against any one of those teams, the Cavaliers are a great bet to cover like any other spread against any other team. They have just such a potent offense right now. That is a team that is really just firing on all cylinders. There's a reason why they are 19-6 in road games this year. That spread, that was an easy cover, never a sweat. That one did right by us. The other pick from yesterday's top 2, that was the Detroit Pistons to cover their spread against the Chicago Bulls. And this one was really funny to me because this was the second night of a back-to-back. The Pistons and Bulls had just played the night before. The Pistons absolutely crushed the Bulls in that first game of this 2-game, back-to-back little series here. And, they won by 40 points in that first game. So when they draw the lineup for the next game, which is the following day, all the variables are pretty much staying the same. The game is still in Chicago. Same group of players are going to take the court again. For some reason, that line yesterday for the Pistons to beat the Bulls, it was only at 6. Maybe throughout the day it fluctuated between 6 and 7 points. And in the first half of the matchup yesterday, the Bulls were staying in it all the way up until about maybe 5 minutes left in the second quarter. And then things started to go off the rails. So the Pistons were up 7 at halftime, and then they end up winning by 18 points. Final score 128-110. So on a 6.5 point spread, I think that's where we had them yesterday. Again, another easy cover there. Didn't have to worry about that one. So in a perfect world, that is the way that all the bets would go. But unfortunately, no one's ever perfect in this world of sports betting. But we try to do the best we can. And if you take a look at the Beat the Book website to see what the 10 picks are for today, as well as that long shot parlay, you're going to see the top 2 picks just towards the top of the post. And the number 1 pick for all of the different games going on tonight is going to be within the NBA. And you can bet on the Oklahoma City Thunder to defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I ended up taking them on an alternate spread. The line for most of the day was around 7.5. I took it down to 6.5 just to be a bit conservative. But the reason for doing that is just because with this game being the second night of a back-to-back for the Thunder, it's also the last game that these teams are going to play prior to going into the All-Star break. This is notoriously a spot where teams are going to look to potentially sit guys. Whether they're dealing with their own injuries or just purely for rest purposes. This is definitely a night where like the one thing I'm extremely confident about is neither one of these teams is going to have every single player, available for them, like ready to go. There's going to be guys that are questionable. They're going to milk the injury report. There'll be late scratches. You're going to get a lot of that tonight. So with the Oklahoma City Thunder, more specifically, we already know at this point that Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace, they are both missing this game. There's a handful of other guys that are also out. They're deeper on the bench, not really going to move the needle that much there. But the name that I'm keeping an eye out for here is actually Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren did play last night, and he just returned after missing like the last, I think it was like 2 or 3 months, dealing with a injury. So, this would be the kind of game where, strangely enough, he hasn't been on the injury report all day long. The way things look right now, it does look like he's going to play. However, this is the kind of thing where I do see the Thunder kind of last minute scratching him for the sake of just kind of preserving him. They have really no reason to kind of run him into the ground at this point. They need to set themselves up for the post All-Star game push, making sure that they maintain that number 1 seed that they currently have in the Western Conference. So with that, I don't think the Thunder are ultimately going to play him. And regardless of if Chet Holmgren plays or not, you should still look to take the Thunder on the spread here. And that's because the Timberwolves in their current state, they're not playing good basketball right now. The Timberwolves last night had to face the Milwaukee Bucks at home, and the Bucks did not play Giannis Antetokounmpo or Damian Lillard. So that should have been a game right there that the Timberwolves, yes, they didn't have Julius Randle. Yes, they didn't have Dante DiVincenzo, but they had enough to win against the Bucks at home. They did not do that. And Anthony Edwards, his streak of scoring 40 or more, that unfortunately ended. And this issue right now for the Timberwolves is that they are just really struggling to find other guys outside of Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid that can put up points and can really contribute on the offense. Last night, Anthony Edwards made 10 shots out of 33 attempts, and they didn't end up losing by a very big margin. The Bucks won the game by 2 points, 103-101. That was the final score. But now the Timberwolves have to pick up the pieces after a pretty bad loss and try and turn things around against the number 1 team in the NBA, going by record. If you want to, look at defensive metrics, they're the best defensive team. This is not going to be an easy matchup. And going off of the most recent injury reports that have come out today, there is a chance that the Timberwolves might even just wave the white flag. They may not even play Anthony Edwards. He's currently questionable. Rudy Gobert is questionable. Mike Conley is questionable. So this could be a spot where if those guys just, they rule them out, they say it's not worth it, they'll take the loss. This spread, where it's at right now, I'll just pull it up. Let's see. So it's ballooned. It's up to 9 right now. This thing could get even bigger. So you can definitely look for the Thunder to win on the spread at home, on the road against the Timberwolves. Now, the other pick in the top 2 for tonight, that's actually going to be on the GCU basketball game. GCU is taking on Tarleton State. And instead of picking a side of this one, we're not counting on a spread. We're not counting on a money line. We're going to play the over. And the line on the over-under for most of today has been at around 136.5 total points. And the thing with this matchup is that this is like a must-win game for GCU. They just lost to Cal Baptist. That unfortunately took them down in the WAC conference. And currently Utah Valley is that top team in the conference that will get the at-large bid if GCU is not able to win some more games, and Utah Valley is going to ultimately have to lose at least one. So this is where you're going to see GCU coming out very hot. And then you take a look at Tarleton. Tarleton is a very bad road team, but they play extremely well at home. They actually have the second best home record in the WAC. They are currently 8-1 on the season at home. So when you look at this matchup on paper, you'll see that these two teams just played not that long ago. It was at GCU. GCU won the game by more than 20 points. I would actually expect the result of this game to be a lot closer, and you can look for Tarleton to be much more competitive with them getting home court advantage this time. This should be more of a shootout type of a game. You're going to see good scoring from each side. There's probably going to be multiple lead changes. And one of the nicer things to see too was just that in road games this year, GCU definitely trends going over that 136.5 mark. Meanwhile, Tarleton, they don't play very consistent defense at home. A lot of the time when they win these home games, they're just simply having a huge offensive night and just overpowering their opponents. So that's where the over is going to be a very good play in this GCU and Tarleton State game. That's why it's in the top 2. Now, I want to kind of move the conversation over to our Phoenix Suns. And we've been talking a lot about the Suns throughout this week. Back on Monday, I broke down, what the Suns are currently looking at. They had 30 games left to go in their season. At the time that I had this whole kind of breakdown of, where they're at right now, they were in the 10th spot of the, Western Conference. So they were just barely making the play-in. Well, here we are 2 days later. And, we played very good teams that are absolutely going to make the playoffs. We had to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. Then we played the Houston Rockets last night. I was not expecting the team to win either of those games, and the Suns ultimately did lose in Houston last night. The final score was 119-111. Kevin Durant, absolute bright spot for us. He had 37 points. No Bradley Beal in this matchup. No Devin Booker as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Amen Thompson. He is a guy that I just will not stop talking about. I think he is someone that has superstar potential and is really just kind of flying under the radar, being on a team that is just overachieving, their plan to kind of get back to a place where they were really competitive again in the wake of losing James Harden. This whole rebuild that Houston's done, everything just feels like it started to really come together a lot faster than even they were intending. And a big part of that is just what Amen Thompson can do on the court. He is a jack of all trades. He plays aggressive defense. He has a very high motor. He can score. He can rebound. He can play make. He is someone that I will not stop advocating as a potential target for the Phoenix Suns going forward. We're going to get into that in a little bit here. But going back to this game last night, Bull, this is another guy that I was, trying to speculate yesterday. How are we going to continue to use him? Because it's really encouraging to see the kind of stat lines he can put up when he gets the opportunity. Is there potentially a way that we can look to feature Bull on our team between now and the end of the season to help build up his stock in a potential series of trades that I'm sure the Suns are going to be looking at in the summer? Well, he had another good showing last night. He scored 15 points in 33 minutes of action. So that's another encouraging development. And then in addition to that, Budenholzer got really, I guess, creative with the rotations last night. Maybe some of that was just based on which players were actually available. But 2 of our two-way players, Ty Washington and Colin Gillespie, they both combined for over 40 minutes of playing time last night. And you actually did get some decent production out of these guys, who maybe weren't even necessarily expecting to play. They just, got the opportunity to come in, and they aren't playing, a slouch of a team. It's not like Bud gave them a chance against, the Wizards or the Bulls or something like that. The Rockets are going to make noise in the playoffs this year. Absolutely a team that, could make a run, could really upset some other teams. This is a very, very good basketball team. So here we are now trying to throw, a couple of the two-way guys in there to see how they'll do. And I, do want to give him some credit. Ty Washington, he had a better stat line than I think most people would have imagined if you knew that, he was going to play 26 minutes against the Rockets. He did put up double figures for points. He had 11 points. He was able to make a 3-pointer, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal. So, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is kind of like, what's the plan, if you're the Suns? Because if you're playing Colin Gillespie and Ty Washington in that game last night for as long as we did, there's an element of doing that just kind of reeks of desperation. But at the same time, it's not a secret that this Suns team is in a desperate place right now. Here we are 2 days later after I had my whole rant about how the season's basically over. We still only have 26 wins. Now we have 28 losses. We're out of the play-in. The playoffs started today. We're on the outside looking in. We're not in it. And, there is a national media narrative that is developing about what's going on with the Suns and what they're going to do. And, you'll hear from Brian Windhorst on ESPN, the Suns and KD, they're, on this path towards a amicable breakup in the summer. And that's not something that I have an issue with. I think if you're the Suns, that is the very thing that you need to do to put yourself back in a place where you're going to be building towards being a better team. I guess the issue that I have at this point is, why are we hearing about these things from Brian Windhorst? Where's the leadership of the front office of the Phoenix Suns? Because you, up until this point, you have no interest in trying to take control of the narrative. We've been radio silent. And here we are in a season that completely got away from us, and the writing's on the wall. I went through it the other day. You look at the schedule, you look at the amount of games that you need to win to get into the play-in. It's not happening. The season's over. You take a look at what happened, coming into the trade deadline. We pretty much failed on all accounts. We weren't able to make any kind of substantial moves to try and, just save, the season that, we've had right now. And then going forward, what's the plan? Once upon a time, Matt Ishbia sat up in a press conference and said every single other GM in the league, most of them would gladly trade their entire rosters, all their draft picks, all their cap situations. They would trade to have ours because ours is so good. Well, that didn't age well. So at this point, to not have a Matt Ishbia, a Josh Bartelstein, or even a James Jones, just be willing to get in front of a camera and say, look, guys, we took a big swing this season. It didn't work out. These are the things that we have in mind for what needs to happen in order for us to improve. And that's going to start with Kevin Durant being traded in the offseason. I don't think there's any problems for the Suns to come out and just acknowledge it. It would be better to announce it, take control of it, and start leveraging the time you have now to try and scour the league and figure out who's going to give you the best package. So with that being said, we are quickly up against a break here, and we've got to get Senny onto the show. So we're going to go ahead and pay some bills, get to a break. But when we come back, we are going to hear from Senny Thomas. He is the head of Edge Boost. He's going to break it down for us. He's going to explain why you need to be leveraging Edge Boost with all of your sports bets. So stick around. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Make extra money daily from your sports betting? Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here. I'm always about finding ways to take sports betting to the next level. And that's exactly why I'm pumped to tell you about Edge Boost, the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all of your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're already doing. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it will never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet. Once again, edgeboost.bet.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
The GCU men's basketball squad is coming off their winningest season in 35 years, their third trip to the NCAA tournament in 4 years, and their first ever NCAA tournament victory. Returning 4 of their 5 starters in Ray Harrison, Colin Moore, Duke Brennan, and reigning WAC Player of the Year, Tyon Grant Foster, the Lopes look to defend their WAC titles and make a run to the Sweet 16. With a non-conference slate, including Stanford, Georgia, and crosstown rival Arizona State, you won't want to miss a moment of the action. So join me, Michael Potter, and Lopes insider Paul Coro all season long, right here on the home of the Lopes, 1580 The Fanatic. Lopes up.
You okay?
I can't sleep with this cough.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with NyQuil VapoCool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors. VapoCool. So you ready to get some sleep? Thank you, NyQuil VapoCool.
NyQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing nighttime coughing, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harmon Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. One, visit harmonsolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call, 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmonsolar.com.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Welcome back. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. I am your host, Dylan Cohen. I've got Phil with me in the control room here in the Harmon Solar studio in Scottsdale. You, the listener, you are on the text line, 888-368-1580. And now we have the head of Edge Boost joining us to give us a little bit more about the background story of Edge Boost, explain to us how it works, why you need to be utilizing this with all your sports betting. Welcome, Senny Thomas, to the show. Senny, how are you?
All right. Thanks, man. Well, I'm in your neck of the woods. I'm calling in from Talking Stick, and yeah, great to be in Phoenix.
There you go. Yeah, you are at one of the many different places where you can utilize a Edge Boost bank account to earn some cash back on a deposit. And we absolutely appreciate you joining us here today. You know, for the past few weeks, I've been talking about Edge Boost every single day at the top of the show, but I think it's going to be a lot better for our listeners to hear about it from a different voice, especially someone that is in charge of the whole thing. So would you mind just maybe giving us a little bit of just kind of background story? You know, how did Edge Boost get started? What's your background like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think everyone's been there, right? I mean, if you've been betting or ever been to a casino in your life, I'm sure we've all been in that situation where you go to the ATM, you're limited, you're calling your bank, you know, you're 10 drinks deep, it's 3 a.m. and you're on hold for an hour. You might have missed a bet. And yeah, it was just a really frustrating experience. It's your money. And of course, naively, we thought that we could spin up a full consumer bank in 18 months, much longer journey than that. But we've learned a lot. And yeah, we've been able to bring a pretty unique product to market here. It's really the first bank account ever, you know, for this type of activity.
And I mean, this is the thing that, you know, I kind of rehash it all the time. And I try to really kind of paint the picture of, you know, how it works and how you can leverage it to, you know, just earn as much cash back as possible. You know, for anyone that's listening that maybe hasn't heard the Edge Boost commercial that, you know, I narrated, or, you know, maybe just hasn't heard me talking about it on the show before, can you just kind of break down in your own words, you know, what is Edge Boost?
Absolutely. So Edge Boost is a real bank account that for all of your gambling activities. So that means that the 100% approval rate for everything related to gambling. That's everything from daily fantasy, sports betting, going to a casino, even prediction market sweeps, etc. So it's your singular bank account that you can use for all that activity with absolutely no hassles. You can sign up in 2 minutes. It's just simple kind of KYC so that we know who you are. Then you'll immediately be issued a virtual debit card, which you can now link to any of your accounts. A week later, you'll get your physical card as well. But what's really unique about this product is that out of the box, you can push $250,000 a day. It's the single highest debit card limit that's ever been launched in history, $250,000. That means that especially for a lot of our poker players, you know, who are flying around with, you know, satchels of cash, they no longer need to do that. But even better, listen, I don't come from banking. So once we kind of looked under the hood, what we realized is that every single time money moves on a card, whether that's on your credit card or a debit card, there's a thing called interchange. So basically, the network will actually pay us, right, the card issuer, for creating volume on their network. And that's actually what pays for all your rewards, like everything from Amex points, you know, to your Sapphire card. So what we decided to do actually for a debit card, which has never been done on a debit side either, is actually pass through a third of our revenue directly to you, the user. So now not only are you, you know, able to have more fun and not worry about everything. But every single time you use the card, you're earning up to 0.5%.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because in the conversations I've had with some of our listeners that have reached out to me, and they're curious about this, there's just kind of like an element of the whole thing that just feels like a little too good to be true. And I have to admit, I was a part of that school of thought, but then I did sign up for Edge Boost. I did it for a couple of months. I started actually earning that cash back. And then, once you've done it for that long, it's kind of like, no, this isn't too good to be true. This is totally legit. So kind of getting back into what you were saying there before, and just want to make sure I'm understanding this right and rephrasing this properly for, our listeners here. Anytime that you make a deposit into a sports book, there is money kind of on the back end between your bank and the sports book that is being exchanged. Am I understanding that right?
That's correct. So every time money moves, right, there is a fee associated with that to occur. There's a number of different parties who get a piece of that, but the folks who actually are, have the consumer relationship, basically get a nice percentage of that. And that's the thing. This is what pays for all the points, everything at restaurants, everything that you've ever got on a card is paid for by this fee. It's just that in debit, it's actually very unique to get cash back. And after we were talking to a lot of our users and thinking about what type of program to spin up, everyone just came back to us and said, just give us the cash. So that's what we did. It's not just as simple as that. The first of every month, everything that accumulates goes right into your account.
And this is like one of those things where, being like just a regular sports bettor and being, one of the end users in that transaction, like you would just have absolutely no idea that, on the back end of this, you go to your app, you load some money from, your debit card, however you normally put money into the sports book. You would just never think that there's like another kind of piece of this that is playing out, and it's not between you, the bettor, and you, the sports book. It's literally between Visa, the processor of the transaction, and then, the sports book who's, paying to facilitate the money coming over. So that was like one of the kind of interesting wrinkles about the industry that you essentially taught me, when I ultimately signed up and got into Edge Boost. And that was just a really interesting piece to be aware of, because people have no idea that, there's all this money that's ultimately moving around that you just know, you don't ever even see it. Now, for anyone that is hearing us talk about this, that, is curious, that maybe thought it was too good to be true, and now they're kind of understanding it a little bit more, maybe you can kind of help me paint the picture here. So signing up for Edge Boost, you just go to edgeboost.bet. That sign up part, that's pretty easy. Can you talk about how like the whole process works with earning the cash back on Edge Boost, and then how you actually receive the cash back?
Absolutely. So it's very straightforward. It literally takes less than 2 minutes to sign up. You get a real bank account, and you're going to get a virtual card immediately. Now, the way this works is you would fund your Edge Boost account from one of your normal bank accounts, right? You'd move the money in, because your normal bank account is going to limit you maybe at a couple $1,000s per day. Obviously, there's no cash back for that transaction either. And many times they'll block these types of transactions because they're generally considered higher risk. So by moving the funds into Edge Boost, you now have a location to keep your bankroll. And then also, even for responsible betting and budgeting, it's actually incredibly effective to take money out and don't commingle it with all of your other expenses and income. Kind of have your own bankroll separated out. And then now you have full freedom to move, $250,000 a day across any of the different applications. It will clear instantly 100% of the time. As soon as that deposit clears, you'll see the cash back update in the application. And the first of every month, it just shows up in your account. Simple as that.
And I can personally attest to that part. That's got to be my favorite part about Edge Boost, is just getting that notification that's, oh, we have gone ahead and added your cash back into your balance. There you go. And then it's super easy. You pull it up, you send it right back to your bank, or maybe you want to send that over to the book. And now you've built up your bankroll with some, passive income, so to speak, with this cash back. And so this is where, once you really start to experience it yourself, you realize like, this is not too good to be true. This is completely legit. And Senny, this entire thing, this was created in partnership with Visa, correct?
Correct. It's a completely approved program. We also operate as a bank. We have all the same anti-money laundering checks. I mean, all the overhead that we've done. I mean, we've raised over $13 million. It took us 4 years to completely build this out. It was a much bigger lift than we originally expected, but I think we have a very powerful and unique product here.
And these bank accounts, these are FDIC insured bank accounts, right?
That is correct. So all the money does sit in FDIC insured accounts up to $250,000.
And are there any fees associated with having the Edge Boost account? Do you require a certain balance to be held in the account for a period of time?
No, not at all. So you move the money in. It's completely free to move money in and out of your account. As I mentioned, we make money every time that the card is used. That's how we pay ourselves, and then we pass some of that through in the form of cash back. But that's it. We've built a very, very efficient technology layer to be able to handle all of this. Our cost structure is fantastic. So for us, it's a volume game. So we just want to keep our customers happy and coming back.
Now, you talked a little bit about the sign up process and getting in there. And I have had some people reach out to me with questions about this. When you initially create that Edge Boost account and you're making your deposits and you're earning your cash back, the Edge Boost site, it'll actually give you transparency on, how much you've deposited over the, course of the month, how much you're going to ultimately, have that's eligible to get cash back from. And then there's kind of a tier system once you sign up, and you're building up the amount of cash back. Would you mind just speaking to all that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty straightforward. The more money you spend, you increase in tier, you kind of level up throughout the month. Whatever level you are at the end of that month, 100% of your spend will convert at that cash back. So, for example, if you can get all the way to tier 4, all of your transactions for that month would convert at 0.4%.
And, if you're going through this process and you continue to have questions or just concerns, like it's pretty easy to communicate, on the back end with people at Edge Boost to kind of get more clarity, right? There's ways to get support on the site.
We always encourage everybody. Our live chat is very responsive. One other point I would make too is this is something that's definitely a question that comes up is that during the sign up process, what we also want people to understand is that we do need to collect this information to verify data. We actually look at sanctions lists. There's a whole bunch of regulatory requirements that we do have. However, none of this information is stored. All of this goes to a third party to verify who you are. In addition to that, we use a layer called Plaid to link your bank account. The same thing. We don't store any of the login information, any of your banking details. All of this is in third-party enterprise secured locations. So you can feel very comfortable kind of sharing this type of data. But it is a requirement due to the fact that it's a real bank account.
And just for clarity here too, when you have an Edge Boost bank account, the intention is for this, Visa debit card you're getting. This is exclusively to be used with, like a gaming entity, a casino, a daily fantasy site, a sports book. You're not expected to use this bank account towards other kinds of transactions, right?
That's correct. It'll actually be denied for all other types of transactions. And that is actually what enabled us to have such a high limit in this category. So because you can't go buy crypto with it or gift cards or swipe it, at Uncle Tony's Chop Shop, we effectively eliminated a lot of the money laundering potential for this type of card. So you can only use it at locations that have also verified your identity, right? So if you go to DraftKings, the name and address, everything has to match up perfectly. We know exactly where the money comes from. But that's kind of a part of the secret sauce here. It's a limited use checking account, but for this purpose, it works phenomenally and it's very high throughput.
And, me personally, I actually do have a background in finance. I worked for years for different mortgage companies. I worked in commercial finance. So one thing that I can at least personally attest to is the benefit of keeping your sports betting, your gaming transactions. You want to keep all that stuff kind of off to the side in a separate account, because if you're someone that is looking to, purchase a home, if you're trying to qualify for credit or financing and you have to provide bank statements, it's generally not a good thing for the bank to just see bank statements that are, riddled with, daily deposit here. So that would be another perk out of leveraging Edge Boost. You get to utilize the cash back from all the activity, but then you get to put all that stuff off to the side. you don't have to worry about that coming up in your normal bank statements that you would then be using, for any financing purposes. The last question I have for you here, Senny, is just that I think we've really kind of tackled a lot of the kind of biggest points here. I think one of the most difficult challenges that Edge Boost tends to face is just kind of this level of skepticism from people that don't understand it, have never used it. And, like we keep saying a lot during this segment, there's an element of all this stuff that feels a little bit too good to be true. Now, we've gone through it. These are FDIC insured bank accounts created in partnership with Visa. This is, an entity that you guys have put a lot of time, a lot of funding into. Is there anything else you might be able to, just put out there for anyone that's listening to help anyone that's thinking about using Edge Boost just feel a little bit more comfortable using it?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a bunch of big announcements coming up. We're actually working with a lot of the operators directly. We solve a lot of problems for them as well because same thing, they're also limited by the debit card throughput. And then also we'll be moving forward, we'll be the official payments partner for the World Series of Poker. So I don't know how much better it gets than that. But listen, we are the best way to move money into space. It's very trusted. All the operators are incredibly excited about this program. Because, cash access is just as big of an issue for them as it is, for the consumer.
So there you have it. A lot of exciting things coming on the horizon for Edge Boost. And Senny, just want to say thank you so much again for your time. It's been a pleasure having you here on the show. And I am looking forward to connecting with you later on.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Bye. So that was Senny Thomas. He is the head of Edge Boost. And Edge Boost is the only FDIC insured bank account out there that is designed specifically for your sports betting deposits. You can use it for ultimately any gaming transaction. You just can't use it for anything outside of that. And make sure you visit edgeboost.bet and use promo code 1580 when you sign up. And that way you'll get started off on a higher tier. You will earn even more cash back from all the money that you deposit into your sports betting accounts. So with that being said, we do need to get to another break here. But when we come back, we're going to get into the long shot parlay of the day. Today's daily get rich quick scheme. This is a good one. I'm excited to break it down for you guys. So stick around. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Are you a chronic interrupter? Incapable of letting other people talk? Do those people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should go to Mattress Firm. They have a 120-night sleep trial, so you can get your money back if a bed's not right. That way, anyone, even someone like you, can sleep. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Hungry for something exciting? Then come experience what's new at Kasai Japanese Steakhouse with 2 Valley locations. No one does Asian-inspired cuisine better or more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppanyaki chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse, it isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's the perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire with their daily specials. Try their new $12 bar menu items, Wagyu beef and Mongolian pork sliders, chicken or beef satay, and 3 delicious flavors of chicken karaage. 2025 is on fire at Kasai with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road and Thunderbird, and now open in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppen.com. That's KASAI Teppen.com or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Did you know that vitamins are your partners in health? Not just inside, but outside too? These nutrients are key to our daily well-being. And for anyone who can get pregnant, folic acid is a must for preventing birth defects, helping you have a healthier pregnancy. The Arizona Department of Health Services is offering 3 months of free daily vitamins with folic acid. Power your health inside and out. Get your free vitamins at azdhs.gov/PowerMe-A2C.
Sponsored by the Arizona Department of Health Services.
The Valley of the Sun will roar to life this spring.
This ought to get pretty wild here.
Why is that, you may ask? Because NASCAR is coming to Phoenix, and it's going to be a weekend of good vibes the whole family won't forget. The best-in-class fan experience meets racing's toughest drivers. for 3 days of action on and off the track, all surrounded by the beautiful Estrella Mountains. NASCAR weekend at Phoenix Raceway, March 7th through the 9th. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com.
Your best plan to retire might be right under your roof. This is Rob Canyer, and for over 20 years, I've helped people discover how they can utilize a portion of their equity in their home as a coordinated strategy in retirement planning, thus creating additional monthly cash flow, paying less taxes, and making their retirement assets last longer. This is a safe and proven retirement strategy for qualified homeowners age 62 and older. All you have to do is reverse your thinking. Call me, Reverse Rob, to learn more at 602-REVERSE. That's 602-738-3773.
We know how it goes. You can't always tune in and hear your favorite shows and hosts.
Dude, look, I'm a loser. Okay?
It's cool, bro. That's why we post podcasts of your favorite shows and hosts. Listen when you want to. Listen on demand.
That is great and frankly kind of amazing.
Go to 1580thefanatic.com to download.
This is Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic. And before we get into today's long shot parlay for today, let's get over to the Fanatic text line. Phil, what do we got?
Well, we do have Baker's cocky hands out here saying Luka in LA is great so far. Interesting way or where we're starting off here. But then he continues, tell me you went with Luka unders with me this time.
I knew where he was going with that.
Yeah. Plus 600 this time and then boosted another 30%. Baker's cocky hens is making money out here. He's not even needing to go into work.
Baker's cocky hens. I unfortunately did the same thing that I did the first day that I missed the boat on this. And I got scared off by really the thing that does it for me is just that it's Utah. And like Utah last night, they came to play. They ultimately won that game. That was shocking. Like there's so many versions of that game that could go down where like Utah is just such a high potential team to just be a complete laydown. You really never know how committed to like defense they're going to be. And last night was a night where they were super committed to it. Luka didn't come anywhere close to hitting his lines. Everything was a bit lower. So no, I completely missed the boat on that and sat on the sidelines, very frustrated at my decision making, but extremely glad to hear that you were able to profit on it again. Baker's cocky hens. Good insight there. Anything else, Phil?
That is it.
All right. Well, let's move over then to the long shot parlay for today. And this is one that will be worth it to shop with FanDuel. I did make this on Fanatics this morning. And the reason why is just because I'm taking certain player props at certain alternate lines that just weren't available yet on FanDuel. FanDuel doesn't generally put those out until much closer to game time. So when I put this together on Fanatics this morning, it was paying a little bit over 101-1 odds. I think there's a good chance if you line this up on FanDuel, it'll actually pay out even more. But here's how it breaks down. We are going to be betting on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the Oklahoma City Thunder to score 36 or more points tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We are betting on Domantas Sabonis to score 24 or more points tonight against the Pelicans. We are counting on Alperen Şengün to score 24 or more points against the Golden State Warriors. And finally, we are counting on Bam Adebayo to score 23 or more points against the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to break this down right now, starting off with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for 36 or more points. The Oklahoma City Thunder are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight in a primetime showdown on TNT. SGA and Oklahoma City are bringing a 7-game winning streak into the matchup while the Timberwolves are limping into this game after suffering an embarrassing loss to the Bucks last night. I mentioned this before. The Bucks did not play Giannis or Damian Lillard. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the leading scorer in the NBA this season. He averages about 32.5 points per game. So far in the month of February, he's bumped that average up to about 33.5 points per game. Now, he's only managed to score 36 or more points just once over his last 5 games. But I think a lot of that can just be attributed to Chet Holmgren coming back from his injury, having a number of other players rejoin that roster, and the Thunder just having a ton of talent on the floor. So I did kind of break this down in the first segment, but with this game being the second night of a back-to-back for both teams just before the All-Star break, there will be players missing this game due to injury or just purely for rest. So we already know Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, they're both going to be out. Chet Holmgren is surprisingly not on the injury report, but if he does end up playing, he is sure to have a minutes restriction, having just come back from injury recently. Shea will ultimately need to carry more of the load on offense with all the absences that the Thunder have tonight in order for the Thunder to win. Then you add in the fact that this is a national TV game against a budding rival in the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards. All of the motivation is there for SGA to dominate. So that's why we're going to count on him to score 36 or more. Domantas Sabonis to get 24 or more points. Sabonis and the Kings are taking on the Pelicans tonight, and they just played them last night. They won 119 to 111. Now, Sabonis only had 16 points in that game last night, but that was pretty largely due to Keon Ellis having a big shooting night for the Kings off the bench. Zion Williamson did end up playing yesterday. He had a pretty big game for the Pelicans. He had almost a 30-point triple-double. But keep in mind that Zion, just like Chet Holmgren, that's another guy that has returned recently from injuries, and his team is just not looking to play him in both games of a back-to-back. So Zion was ruled out of this game tonight. He's not going to be playing, and that is one of the biggest reasons why you should look for Domantas Sabonis to score. Through 3 games against the Pelicans so far this season, Sabonis averages 25 points per game. He just scored 27 points against them last Saturday, but his biggest scoring performance against the Pelicans came back on December 12th when he scored 32 points in a close win where Zion did not play. So with Zion out again tonight, look for Sabonis to become more of a focus for the Kings on the offense. You can count on him to score. Alperen Şengün for 24 or more points. Şengün and the Rockets take on the Golden State Warriors at home after beating the Suns last night. Şengün is averaging 19 points per game this season, and he has managed to score 24 or more points twice over his last 5 games. With the Rockets continuing to miss 2 of their starters, Jabari Smith Jr. and Fred VanVleet, Şengün has needed to carry more of the load on offense, and the Rockets are going to be looking to take advantage of a weak Golden State front court that lacks size and talent to contain their all-star center. In Şengün's last game against the last game against the Warriors in the NBA Cup quarterfinals, he scored 26 points in a very low-scoring game for both teams. With Şengün's primary defenders in this game tonight, most likely to be Quinton Post and Kevon Looney, look for Şengün to take advantage of the mismatch and score often in this game. And the last leg, Bam Adebayo for 23 or more points. Bam and the Heat face the Dallas Mavericks tonight after giving up a double-digit lead and losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. Bam is averaging almost 17 points per game this season, but in the month of February, that average has jumped to 23 points per game. He managed to score 27 points against the best defense in the league yesterday. Now he's going to face a Mavericks front court that seems to be losing its centers by the day. Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, they're all out of this game tonight. It's an opportune time to be a big man facing the Dallas Mavericks. Even a guy like Kevon Looney, who doesn't have much left in his NBA career, he managed to grab 8 rebounds, and he even blocked a shot in only 15 minutes of play yesterday. Dallas started second-year player Olivier Maxence Prosper yesterday at center, and he's only 6'7". They have Kyler Kelly on the roster as the emergency center, but the 27-year-old has less than 60 minutes of playing time in his entire NBA career after going undrafted out of Oregon State. Look for the Heat front court to have their way in Dallas tonight, with Bam Adebayo being the biggest beneficiary of the Mavericks' injury struggles. So those are the reasons why I've picked the exact legs and why the long shot parlay is structured the way it is. Make sure you visit the Beat the Book website to check out the other bets to consider, in addition to those top 2 picks that I went through earlier in the show. And just taking a look at some of those other bets to consider right now. Another pick you can look to play on here. I would absolutely consider Amen Thompson. Like I shouted out before, that's someone that had a triple-double last night against the Suns. He scored 18 points. His line is basically right at around 18 for tonight. I put him down for 17 or more points on the other bets to consider. But this is someone that really benefits in the back-to-back scenarios because he just plays with so much energy that he tends to be a bit more conditioned, a bit more energetic than all of the other players on the court, whether that's guys on his team or guys on the opposing team. And with all the teams that are playing tonight, all being on equal ground in that second night of a back-to-back dynamic, that's going to work out well for Amen Thompson. He should be able to get a lot of easy buckets in transition against the Golden State Warriors. Other than that, James Harden for 10 or more assists. That's another great bet to take a look at. James Harden is someone that can very easily pick up double-digit assists. He does it, honestly, very seamlessly. And they are taking on the Utah Jazz, who are on the second night of a back-to-back. And like I said before, that's a team where you just have no idea kind of what their motives are on any given night or what kind of defense they're going to play. This is a team that Harden has a lot of history of doing well with when it comes to his assists. So that's another one that I would definitely look to play that. And Phil, that's all I got, brother.
All right. Well, I do certainly enjoy that Bam Adebayo prop. I think that has strong possibilities, bringing it closer than a long shot parlay, specifically in that leg. But guys, as you know, that's going to do it for us on Beat the Book here. I'm Phil. That's, of course, Dylan Cohen, our betting expert. Thank you so much for tuning in. Coming up next, it's the Daily Blender with Jeffrey O'Brien and Randy White. Stick around. You're listening to 1580 The Fanatic.